All right, Nick Blazer here with another position analysis video. I'm going to be posting these every Monday and Thursday, so subscribe to the channel if you want notifications for when these are going to come out. And yeah, I'll pick interesting positions, but if you have anything that you'd really like me to give my 2 cents on, let me know. And I'm happy to bring in some user content on there. Maybe I'll take things like interesting positions from matches that I've commentated, all kinds of stuff. But this one came up in a match that I played in Minnesota a few weeks back, and it was an interesting decision after the hit. After my opponent's born off 12 checkers, there's three more around. When there's only two, which is a common Q classique, we're just trying to close those out, of course, and we know that we really don't want to let our opponent anchor. We're going to trap them off a lot of times if we get the chance. But so with this 2-1, I wasn't sure if score would impact this and if I risked any gammons. Probably not. Um, but I left this in here just as like a little confuser. But hopefully you've had a little time to look at this, and maybe your instinct, of course, is 2-1 from the bar while I can hit the third checker. But I was nervous that my opponent could anchor if I did that, and maybe they'd get into a better position that way. So I wondered, well, there's two hits inside too. I can hit 3 to ace instead, or I could cover 3 to 2, I guess, but I could also hit 2 to 1. Lots of options in this position. So yeah, before I jump to the answer on that, I'll keep talking about too. I'd really like to do more commentary tracks for people as like lessons. So if you have a video where you'd like me to do that, reach out and let me know if there's anything you would want to like donate for that. You can treat it like a video lesson for yourself if you want. Otherwise, I'll probably pick things from Cyprus to go over. Burak had a match that he really wanted me to have a commentary track in the finals of a super jackpot, things like that. So watch for more things like that, probably about, once a week, something like this would be my goal for posting more content that way. But okay, so so this one, we're supposed to not hit the third checker yet. We're not ready. And we should hit on the ace to prevent the anchor somehow, which I found the best play here, the 3 to ace. I think tactically, I prefer the 3 to ace a little bit because we're poised to roll the prime home naturally on our luckiest sequences. Where after the 2 to ace, well, now we still have to figure out some way to get this checker off the 3 to develop. We really don't want to make the ace first, so I guess it's okay in this position when it's so blitzy. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like it was going to be easier to follow up on with the 3 days. But those are small. The important part is that we don't jump the gun and send the third checker back to allow our opponent to anchor or something like this. And, if our opponent can anchor with 3 checkers, then we don't have trap plays available either. They can, if we open up, then they can just run one checker around preemptively and not have to leave the anchor. So I really wasn't sure. I kind of knew I'd seen this theme before that I'm not sure I want a third checker involved here quite yet, or I might not be ready for that, whatever. Sometimes you don't, in a back game, you don't want to pick up the second checker even before you've got the first one fully contained and closed out and things like this. But so the references that I realized that I wanted to study this position afterward because whatever I chose, I could be right or wrong. But I realized I wasn't super sure about what my winning chances were after I closed out 2 checkers, after I closed out 3 checkers, or after my opponent anchored. And I thought that would give me a big hint if I could guess that fairly accurately about which to go. So let's look over those real quick. If our opponent ends up getting to keep this checker on the 22, and we close out 2 checkers, and we get to perfect distribution, then our winning chances are still 78%, which is pretty high. So it shows kind of the lack of urgency of picking up the third checker. We certainly will win a lot more when we pick up that third checker, but how much more was a question for me too. So 78% is pretty high. It must be in like the 90s if we get the third checker. And yeah, we're all the way up to 94. So we gain a lot. We really do want to get that third checker. But it's also important to point out that even, if we don't hit it now and don't get the opportunity to pick it up, well, there still might be opportunities down the road where we would make some funky play to open up the ace and maybe get to pick up that checker that way and close out after that. So an example here, this 6 off, 1 off, we can play this way, and if our opponent enters on the ace, we get a chance to hit back here, and we can still kind of attack and try to close out later. So yeah, it doesn't, even when we miss this checker as a result of the 2-1 play, we might be able to go back and get it. But so now what we have to look at too is after we hit the third checker, well, what are our winning chances after let's say we get to, I don't know, something like this, right? When our opponent anchors up. I guess maybe just if like earlier on, we'll take something like this. Like we end up, yeah, I think I like this idea. It's just what happens if we end up something like this and our opponent has an anchor now, how bad are our winning chances? And we still have to roll forward a little bit because we haven't made the deuce with our play. Oh, I think that's right. In the original, we had something like this. So let's look at this. And when our opponent makes this anchor, we're all the way down to 64, 65%. So it's worth quite a bit to establish that anchor. It drops our winning chances by like 13. And this is if he makes it too. If somehow he gets lucky enough to advance and make this point as well, and I guess, whatever, this recirculates, something like this, um, right here. So if he makes the higher anchor, well now, okay, it's still 65 from here as well. I guess the distribution of this checker is a little bit of a problem here too. But you can see it drops our winning chances by quite a bit. And really even, I think, if they just make the anchor and still have one in the air, we still have that problem by quite a bit. It's still around 65, right? Um, and so when they enter here and make the ace, 68 now. But so we give our opponent immediately this chance to, I mean, in the original position, let's go back to that. We have one on the bar, we have one here, and we have one like this. So when we play our 2-1, if we hit this checker here, then a third of the time, our opponent is going to immediately save about 10% of games, go from 78% after a closeout if we can get there to 68% is looking like our best case scenario, right? Not a lot's going to change for Black's position after that too. And they might have opportunities to come in on the 2 and improve to like 60 to like, yeah, to drop us to 65% or something like this. Um, so it's a pretty big problem to just give them that chance right away. Where when we hit, even if we can't pick up this checker, then we're shooting for 78%. If they enter, then we have to fight for that again, right? But we haven't lost to the anchor right away, right? We still have chances to go pick it up again. So yeah, it's just important to take this role to prevent to the priority is the anchor, right? If we can prevent that, we're doing great, and we might have ways to go recirculate and pick up this other checker later. That can still happen down the road. So yeah, I hope this helps when you're thinking about after the hit how to bring a game like this home. In this position, it was just more important to prevent the anchor than it was to send a third checker back, and that should generally win you more games to like focus on the closeout versus getting the extra checker, and that can often come up in after the hit as a priority. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe to the channel if you like it, and like the videos. Help me get out to more people, and I'll be back with more soon. Thanks, everybody.